April 11th, 2019 meeting of the Parker Planning Commission to order at 7 p.m. Would you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Roll call. Absent is Dwayne. Absent is Eric. Absent is Rich. Absent is Kelly. Absent is Kim. Tracy is seated for the vacant seat, and Ruth Ann is seated for Kelly. We have 4, therefore a quorum. Next, are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda?
No, sir, there are not.
All right, thank you. Approval of the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the Planning Commission minutes from March 28th?
No.
All right, do we have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes of March 28th, 2019.
Not on. Second.
It's been moved by Ruth Ann, seconded by Tracy, that we approve the minutes from the March 28th, 2019 meeting. Please enter your vote.
Not yet.
There it is.
Oh, here we go.
Liliana? Did you hit save? All right. Okay. All right. Next item, number 6. Number 6A and B will be heard concurrently. 6A is the rezoning of the unplatted area of Sunmarke, and 6B is the sketch and preliminary plans for the unplatted Sunmarke area. And we will open the public hearing at 7:03. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening. As was just referenced, there are 2 separate requests before you this evening that will require 2 separate motions and votes. But for brevity, staff has prepared one presentation for both. Again, the application numbers are Z18-018, SUB 18-030, and SUB 18-034. All applications relate to the Sunmarke development. The zoning is a PD guide rezoning, and the last 2 are for their sketch and preliminary plan. Please note that the applicant has provided the notification affidavit saying that they've legally noticed the hearing this evening. The subject property is generally located at the northwest corner of French Creek Avenue and Motsenbacher Road. To the north is undeveloped property and Hess Road. To the west is undeveloped property. To the south is condos, duplexes, a church, a school, and additional single-family detached residential development. To the east is single-family detached residential development and a contractor landscape business. The subject property was annexed by the town in 1984 and has been zoned for residential uses since that time. The site is roughly 60 acres in size. The applicant has submitted the rezoning application in order to amend certain bulk standards and the minimum lot size in order to meet current market demands and provide a home product that complements the existing homes on the south side of French Creek. The sketch and preliminary plan will allow the applicant to move forward with their final plat process in order to create 209 residential lots and 11 tracts. The subject property in the entirety of the area is called out for medium-density residential development within the town's master plan. That designation recommends roughly 3.5 dwelling units per acre. The current zoning on the property allows for a maximum of 285 residential units on the property. Again, the applicant is proposing 209. Just to provide a little additional clarity for the request this evening, the rezoning is not proposing to change any uses that are currently allowed on the property. It would simply change the bulk standards and lot size requirements. The rezoning application, the recommendation from staff this evening, your recommendation to town council is based on 9 criteria that will be discussed later in the presentation. The sketch and preliminary plan are the first 2 steps in a 3-step process to plat residential property here in the town of Parker. Again, the approval of these applications would not create the individual lots or tracts, but it would allow the applicant to submit the final plats in order to create those lots and tracts. Specifically related to the rezoning, it's really intended to accomplish 3 things, which is clarify and amend setbacks to reflect current home types, add setbacks where there are currently none, and reduce the maximum height of the residential units from 40 feet to 35 feet. The lot size for single-family detached residential lots would be at 4,500 square feet, and the minimum lot size for the single-family attached product would be 2,000 square feet. These are the 9 criteria that were referenced just a moment ago that the rezoning is evaluated against. All 9 criteria are detailed in your staff report with staff's analysis. However, staff would like to take the opportunity to briefly touch on a few of these. The first one is that a need exists in order to accommodate a home type that is reflective of existing development and that achieves a consistent urban design in this area. Number 4, that the existing zoning was approved back in 2003. Over the course of the last 16 years, the bulk standards and lot sizes do not reflect current development patterns. And also the development to the south has occurred, which gives additional reference for context for the urban design here. And then 5, the town of Parker Public Works and Engineering has reviewed and approved the traffic analysis submitted by the applicant. So this is an image showing the individual lots and tracks and street network and things associated with that. Everything that's in white would be the first phase of the development, including Great Plains Way, which is kind of on the southwest portion of the site. Everything that's in blue would be in a second filing at a later date, and everything that's in red would be the third filing. Again, the applicant does at this time expect the development to occur in 3 separate filings. Filing 1 does include improvements to the floodplain that is located on the property but north of the lots. Those lots that are shaded with the black color, those lots, portions of those lots are currently in those floodplain boundaries. As part of the improvements in filing 1, the applicant will be amending those floodplain boundaries and removing those lots from the floodplain. And there is a recommended condition of approval on the sketch and preliminary plan that no final plat would be approved for those lots until that's been accomplished. Traffic and circulation. Traffic from the subdivision is proposed to be served with 3 access points to collector roadways. Those are shown with the blue arrows on the image. Access points to collector roadways from 2 from the existing French Creek Avenue and 1 from a new collector, the Great Plains Way collector, which again is in the kind of southwest corner of the site. These roadways have been designed and anticipated to carry traffic from all of the master plan development in this area to the adjacent arterial roadways. The developer was also required to perform a traffic signal warrant analysis for the intersection of French Creek and Motzenbacher Road. The installation of traffic signal is partially based on a federal publication known as the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or MUTCD, which includes a set of traffic-related warrants that should be met before signal installation should be considered. While these warrants were not met based on the project's anticipated conditions, the town anticipates that a traffic signal will be warranted in the future and will continue to monitor the intersection. The developer will be required to pay to the town their share of the cost to design and construct this traffic signal. And it should be noted that there is an existing traffic signal at the south access to the subdivision from Motsenbacher Road that is available for residents of the subdivision. So the sketch and preliminary plan also has specific criteria that are evaluated, and that's based on staff's recommendation and ultimately your recommendation to town council. Town staff, in concert with our referral agency partners, have reviewed the applications and determined that they do meet the approval criteria. In terms of responses from those referral agencies, all referral agencies responded with either advisory comments or no comments related to all of these requests. Therefore, staff recommends that Planning Commission recommend that Town Council approve the requested rezoning for the Sunmarke PD guide related to the bulk standards and lot sizes, and staff recommends that Planning Commission recommend that Town Council approve, subject to conditions, the requested sketch and preliminary plans for the Sunmarke development. That would conclude staff's presentation. However, we certainly are available for any questions you might have, and the applicant is here as well and has a short presentation and will also be available for questions.
Questions for Paul?
What are the lot sizes for the duplex or paired homes that are south that this is going with? Do you know?
I do. That's a very good question.
Why, thank you.
The existing duplexes on the south side of French Creek range anywhere from about 4,500 square feet to 5,500 square feet.
And these would be 2,000 square feet lot sizes for these?
That would be the minimum. Certainly, they could be larger than that.
For the paired homes?
That's correct.
So we're going to put the two homes on a lot, on a 2,000 square foot lot, and a single home on a 4,500 square foot lot. Am I understanding it correctly?
Let me try and explain a little bit.
Please.
So each unit would be on a minimum 2,000 square foot lot. So there would be one unit on one lot that would have a minimum square footage of 2,000 square feet. To the south, again, home construction and home types have changed in the last 16 years. The biggest change probably is that that product has the garage in the front, and it's usually a two-car garage, which almost always makes that home wider. Mm-hmm. It's more the trend now to have alley-loaded or rear-loaded garages, which allows the home to be more narrow.
Okay, so there'd be two homes that are paired on a total lot size combined of 4,000 square feet.
A minimum of 4,000.
Minimum of 4,000, okay.
Correct.
That makes a lot more sense, thank you.
No.
Paul, did I hear you correctly say that it's 209 lots versus the 285 allowed?
That's correct. The existing zoning allows for 289 residential units in this particular planning area. The applicant has proposed 209.
And the filings are going to be done in 3 ways over what period of time?
Ultimately, that'll be a market condition, but what's been expressed to staff from the applicant is probably in that 3 to 5 year window. But ultimately, the applicant would know the market better.
Okay, thank you.
If for some reason the lots that are designated to be in the floodplain zone are unable to be removed from the floodplain zone, what is the fallback for that?
There would be no lots created in the floodplain for residential development.
Would there be a reorganization of whatever that part of the development would then be?
Likely,
Okay.
yes.
Further questions for Paul? Okay. And you said the applicant has a presentation?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, Brock Chapman from Raintree Development has a brief presentation.
Mr. Chapman, when you get up to the microphone, just give your address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Brock Chapman. I'm representing the applicant, which is Raintree Investment Corporation, which is 7200 South Alton Way, Suite C400. That's Centennial 80112. Good evening, members of the commission. Thank you for the opportunity to present our plans here tonight, and a couple items of business. If the staff report is not automatically entered into the public record, I'd like to request it be done so at this time. Usually is. And I would also note, before I get going from an overreaching standpoint, that the applicant, us, we are in 100% agreement with the staff report and the recommendations for approval on both applications. For expediency, I'll speak to both applications at the same time as well, since that's how you're evaluating it. And I can also further explain at the end of my presentation some of the other questions you had, if that's helpful, on the floodplain as well as the paired units in today's market. I think, well, I should digress just a moment. The other half of the presentation team that was supposed to be here tonight besides me is stuck in North Platte, Nebraska due to the cyclone bomb. So I'll try to do my best to cover his stuff, and we'll proceed forward like good soldiers here. But I'm just going to speak a little bit to the context, give you a little context tonight, and highlight a few of the things that you might find important in order to make a decision. But as a few things were already stated, the property was originally zoned in 2003. That's 16 years ago now. And as far as market cycles, styles of homes, and the economy, that's a lifetime ago. As you'll see, or as you've already heard from Paul, we are proposing far fewer units than are allowed within this planning area by the current zoning. You can see it, the map on the screen, that the top portion to the north, that's the planning area or filing number 1 that we're here to talk about tonight. But I wanted to give you some additional context. This is part of a larger community that was developed years ago, and then when the Great Recession of 2008 hit, it just stopped for many, many years. Raintree Investment Corporation got back involved in about 2014, I want to say, and started moving forward with doing some planning on the project. The colored area to the south, that was filing 17B and C, and not a little further down, Paul, there you go, to the south. That's 17B and C. That was ultimately, we handled the planning, and the rest of those lots were purchased and built out by Richmond Homes. They're sold out now. Those have done really well, and they're done. There might be still finalizing some construction on a few homes, but for the most part, they're 100% sold out and will soon be closed out. 18B, I was here about a year and a half ago. That's the middle parcel there, Paul, to the west. That was approved and recently sold to a home builder. They have started all their development work on that. Their model homes are up. Sales are brisk. They are constructing, going vertical on all the homes that have already been sold, and have basically completed all the overlap grading, much of the major utilities, and are moving through that so fast that we thought it was time to get going on this filing number 1. And this is our last filing. This is our last ownership property. It completes the neighborhood, and this is the last piece we had to go through to complete our ownership in this community. Of interest, not only is it, well, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I'll just point out that filing number 1, Paul talked about the zoning and an allowable 285 lots. It should be noted this filing was also previously zoned once by a previous owner, and it was zoned for 225 residential lots, and that plat has since expired. And so this is our proposed plan to come back and redo the platting. So when we, again, more context, when we came in to have our pre-application meeting for the preliminary and sketch plan for filing number 1 that you see here tonight, we had intended to move forward with all single-family detached lots as we'd always planned, and as the rest of the community had been done under our ownership. It was at that pre-application meeting that Jason Rogers and Bryce Matthews urged us strongly to consider including some more diverse, higher density, more affordable housing types into our filing number 1 plans, and specifically to include attached housing types that would better meet the needs of the home buyer today, and really the greater goals of the community in the town of Parker. As you can imagine, we were a bit taken back by this request. Our initial reaction was, seriously, are you kidding? This would take a zoning amendment, and nobody likes to do a zoning amendment unless they have to. But after taking a step back from our predetermined path and more thoughtfully considering this request, we evaluated both the site, the surrounding housing types in the existing neighborhood and what was already being proposed, evaluated housing prices that have skyrocketed here in this community and throughout Colorado in recent years, and had to admit that Jason and Bryce were right on this request. Reluctantly admit they were right. So we went back to the drawing board and included some plans for some single-family attached or paired units as part of our application, and went through many, many iterations of that and settled with this plan before you tonight after discussing it with staff at length and getting something that worked for everybody. So for the zoning amendment, just to clarify, we're specifically requesting a reduction in the allowable lot sizes on the paired and single-family attached homes from 3,500 square feet to 2,000 square feet. Now, I need to point out a couple of things. This is the change in the market that's happened over the past several years. And these smaller lot sizes do not generate any more density or any more units. What it allows is less yards in the individual lots and more common area and open space between them that are going to be owned and maintained by the homeowners association. People that typically want these to live in this type of housing want less maintenance. So less yard inside the lots, more in the common area. And Paul, if I could get you to go to the next slide that maybe shows that a little better. More common area to the front and the side of the lots. As Paul mentioned, these are rear load garages. So you get more of the interesting architecture out front, and all the units live to the front toward the landscape area as well. So that's why we're going to smaller lots. It's not increasing the density or the number of units we get. And it will be fee simple for sale housing. It's not for rent. Everybody will own the land and the house, including the paired units on the lot. And the property line between the two paired units, that's the property line, and will be a shared demising wall or common wall between the two units. So hopefully that, Commissioner Nelson, that answers your question a little bit more and how those all come together. And so the other key point, and I think why Jason Rogers and Bryce Matthews came to us initially, why this made sense, was looking at the whole context of the larger planning area. As Paul mentioned, across the street of these paired units, from these paired units across French Creek Avenue to the south, there are existing row townhomes there that have been there for years. I don't know exactly when they started to be built and completed, but they've been there a long time. And behind that are some additional paired units. And so that really made sense from a land use and housing density transition across the site. It allowed us to get a different housing type within our community, but transitions really nicely from the townhomes that are already there at French Creek and goes to our paired units, and then ultimately transitions to the rest of the single-family detached units or houses in the rest of the community. There are also some minor modifications to the old bulk standards in the zoning code, or in the zoning approval, I should say, that bring them more current with today's desired setback criteria. It basically just serves to make the single-family detached houses less garage dominant. So there's some staggered setbacks between the garage area and the house plane itself. And so that's just bringing it current. If you want to see that in more detail, it's more of a cleanup issue, but that's on page 6 of your zoning amendment staff report. In the zoning summary, I would just simply point out that it allows for the exact same paired housing type that was already allowed to be built here. It just allows smaller lot sizes to be constructed in a way that better meets today's home buyer segment who desires less yard maintenance, and that's really it. And so for that reason, we didn't panic about a zoning amendment in this case. I'll be even briefer with the sketch preliminary plan, since Paul went into more detail on that. 125 single-family detached lots, 84 paired single-family attached lots. And again, the lot count meets the unit count. So since each paired lot also sits on each paired unit also sits on a lot, they're the same number. That's a total of 209 lots. And if you recall, there are allowable 285 lots under the current zoning. So that's 76 fewer lots, which is a 27% reduction in the total lot count that we are proposing. I should also point out the sketch preliminary plan meets or exceeds all parks and open space requirements. And this plan also allows the construction of Great Plains Parkway. Paul, can you point that out? So that's right there. That will connect to the future master plan community anthology to the west. And that was one of the goals of not only us and the town, but also the residents in the neighborhood to have a future third way out of this neighborhood rather than just each into French Creek. So I understand, I can't speak to the time frame, but I do understand that the anthology community further to the west is the master plan, and it is either going through some land use application reviews now or soon will be. But that's about all I know. Maybe your staff can speak more to that. So it sounds like that community is imminent when that connection will occur. I can't say exactly, but we're stubbing that out to our property line to make sure it's there when it's available. And then, again, this plan does include a future regional trail connection. It connects from Motzenbacher, parallels Hess Road, to the future, to and through, actually, the future anthology subdivision to the west. So there'll be some nice trail connections through there on a regional basis. In conclusion, really, I just wanted to go on record that the Planning Commission is justified in the approval of both Sunmarke Filing 1 zoning amendment and sketch preliminary plan applications for the following reason. It's consistent with the Parker 2035 master plan criteria. It's consistent with the current medium-density residential designation for this property. It meets or exceeds all applicable goals and strategies of the applicable land use criteria, community appearance and design standards, housing objectives, transportation objectives, natural resource protection and open space and recreation objectives, all set forth in the Parker 2035 master plan. Again, it is significantly below the number of units allowable by zoning and also lower than any previously approved plans. When asked by your senior planning staff to adjust our proposed plan to better meet the current vision and objectives of the town of Parker by including attached housing, we did so. And finally, your own planning staff is recommending approval of both land use applications. I do thank you for the time and consideration tonight. I would respectfully request your vote to approve our applications, and we'll do our best to answer any questions you may have at this point.
Questions for the applicant?
I just had one. Paul, you had mentioned traffic study, future traffic light, if and when we needed it. Could you just show me on the map where we're?
So the reference was to the intersection of French Creek and Motzenbacher Road.
Okay.
So it's that intersection, if you can see the cursor, where the cursor is.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? No?
I can also
Thank you.
state on the floodplain map Paul had up, I will point out we do have what's called a CLOMR, a conditional letter of map revision approved already by the Army Corps of Engineers. So the next step is we make the improvements, submit the as-built drawings to the Corps, say there they meet the approved conditional letter of map revision, and then the final LOMR, letter of map revision, goes into effect. So, you know, as long as we build it per plan, it's pretty imminent those are going to come out of the floodplain,
Okay.
if that's helpful.
That is.
All righty, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Further questions for Paul? Okay, as this is a public hearing, we will open the meeting to public comment regarding these concurrent items before us, the Sunmarke development. If you wish to make a comment on this, please hold your comments to 3 minutes, and you may step forward to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Alita Yu, and I reside at 18140 French Creek Avenue. I'm here to express my concerns regarding the traffic issues which will arise as a result of building 209 single-family and duplex homes in the area across from French Creek Avenue. On December 3rd, 2018, Paul Workman, representing the City Planning Department from Parker, and Bill Mayer from Norris Design, appeared at our HOA meeting to present the plans for this new development. We were told that are 2 access roads, and now this evening we're told there are 3 access roads potentially, namely French Creek Avenue at the time and Kaiser Creek, which currently exist. The access road on Kaiser Creek is a non-issue since most residents will not drive farther on Kaiser Creek to get to their homes off of French Creek Avenue. So I'm delighted to hear that there are 3 access roads, but there are not immediate access roads. A number of homeowners in our development believe that the French Creek access road is insufficient in dealing with the increased traffic that will result from the construction of this new development. There's currently a great deal of traffic with school buses and parents traveling to and from Legacy Point Elementary School and commuters traveling to and from work on French Creek Avenue. In the intersection on French Creek Avenue and Motzenbacher Road, which you asked for clarification about, there is no light, and people have to carefully navigate crossing Motzenbacher to get onto Hess Road. With the construction of 209 new homes, this will exacerbate the traffic conditions even more. So the notion of a future traffic study does not bear well with the homeowners of our development. I'd like to propose the following. Create an access road from Hess Road to the new development to alleviate the traffic congestion, which will invariably result from this new construction. 2, install a light immediately at the intersection of French Creek Avenue and Motzenbacher. And 3, widen the French Creek Avenue Road to accommodate the increased traffic flow to the new development. In many instances, people don't take action until a tragedy occurs. I would like to think that the developers are proactive in protecting the lives of citizens of the homes that they develop. Traffic study for all citizens who live in that community and the surrounding area should be a priority consideration. So thank you very much for considering my comments and thoughts.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Tim Mosier. I live at 18165 Saskatoon Place, the Anthology Townhomes. And looking at your plan, is it possible to pull that plan up, the development? 209 homes doesn't sound like a lot with all the building that's going on around us, but that probably adds 400 cars to the X's onto French Creek and then onto Morzenberger. It already now is constant traffic on French Creek. School buses, like she said, last year they were turning into our development to make a loop to turn and go the other direction on a constant basis. What Alita had said about the Morzenberger and no light there, that rise and that hill coming north on Morzenberger and trying to watch the people in front of you coming out, trying to watch the people coming south and trying to watch the people coming north is a extreme hazard, as it is now. Adding 409 more cars to it is really going to make it difficult, particularly during the winter. Another thing that I was thinking about, you're adding 209 homes, and according to the lot, there doesn't look like there's a lot of space up there for snow removal. We have a problem with that in our little development. They're pushing it up onto the curbs, pushing up onto the grassy areas, destroying the grass in order to keep the roadway clear. You add all these homes in here, I don't know where they expect to push the snow during the winter, during a heavy storm. And the access, all the access or exit points that you're talking about from this development go on to French Creek. It's just overloaded. It is overloaded already, it's noisy already. It's narrow already. You've got and if so, I want to know if my dues are going to be going up or decreasing. If we're going to be you're adding 209 units and a lot of maintenance,
Okay.
And snow removal and maintenance is a
time,
constant
sir.
issue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further comment, we will close the public comment.
Could I ask one more question?
We close the public comment, sir. We close the public comment. Town staff, can you kind of address the traffic issues that came up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To introduce myself, my name is Alex Mestal. I'm with the town's engineering department. There were several questions about the French Creek Avenue roadway. As Paul mentioned, French Creek Avenue is a collector roadway. So collector roadways are designed basically to carry traffic from local roadways, within the subdivision that have driveways and homes fronting them, to busier roads, arterial roads like Matzenbacher Road. Per town criteria, collector roads are designed to carry between 2,000 and 8,000 vehicles per day on them. Per the traffic study done by the developer, French Creek currently has just over 2,000 vehicles per day, so it's on the very low end of volumes for a collector roadway. So it does have capacity to handle additional traffic. French Creek Avenue and Kaiser Creek, those are all collector roadways. If you look around the circle, there's no driveways fronting these homes, again, because they're designed to carry higher traffic volumes. Great Plain Way, which was mentioned, that's also designed to be a collector roadway, so that, again, when that's extended to the west with future development, that will provide another way out of the neighborhood that can better distribute traffic around the area. One of the public comments was in regard to an additional access from Matzenbacher Road into the neighborhood. An additional access can't be spaced along the Matzenbacher Road frontage. We have access spacing criteria that we require basically to allow safe distances between different access points to allow turning movements and avoid conflicts and safety issues with those. Because the drainage way is just to the north there, Oak Gulch, any new access point on Matzenbacher Road wouldn't quite be far enough away to meet our access spacing criteria and be safe on Matzenbacher Road. Certainly, we understand the concerns about the French Creek and Matzenbacher intersection. As Paul mentioned, that is on the town's radar for signalization in the future. We'll continue to monitor that to see when it meets the federal warrants that suggest that a traffic signal may be needed in that area. Yes.
Does topography, they mentioned a hill that makes it difficult to see. Does topography go into consideration for the warrant?
Yeah, there is a safety. One of the warrants is in regard to traffic safety. So if there's been a certain amount of accidents within a given period, that would be one of the warrants, but that has not been met at this time.
So we have to have people or property damaged or injured before we can decide that it's dangerous?
No, so you would look at, excuse me, so you would look at what the cause of the crashes were. Right?
Okay.
Crashes can be for a number of reasons: distracted driving, speeding, all kinds of things.
Okay.
And it's not a high number. I want to say it's 3 in a several year period.
Okay.
So it's not like you need 20 wrecks in a year to warrant it. It's a low number.
Okay.
Paul, and you may not know this, is there a designated elementary school site in Anthology?
There are several designated school sites in Anthology, that's correct.
Because I was thinking with this growth, that they're going to need another school in that area at some point. Okay. Other questions for Paul?
There was an issue of school buses brought up. Do we have any control over how the school buses do or don't turn around in the area to make life easier or harder for people?
Certainly,
Driving?
the district can be contacted about that. I think the reference was that they use French Creek and turn around within the local residential streets to better access the school site. They're going to have to use the local streets in some fashion. We
Right.
can certainly talk to them about that, but again, I want to stress, French Creek is a collector roadway. It's designed to carry traffic such as that. So that's what it's there for, to carry buses and residential traffic to the major roadways.
Okay.
Any more questions for staff?
In your comment, you said that in a collector roadway, 2,000 is low?
Yeah, so per town criteria, they're designed to carry between 2,000 and 8,000 vehicles per day.
And they are at 2,000 right now?
Just over 2,000 right
Just
now.
over.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
And at what point would that traffic study be implemented? At what car volume, at what point with the development growth? When would we reevaluate putting that light there?
So the town will probably take a look at that on an annual basis to see if background traffic on Matzenbacher is increasing, how the French Creek traffic is increasing as well, because that's really what the traffic-related warrants are in regards to. The traffic on the major roadway, which would be Matzenbacher, and then the minor roadway, which would be French Creek Avenue.
How is that intersection currently controlled?
It is a two-way stop, so the two minor roads, which would be French Creek, and then the opposing entrance to the Manzanita neighborhood are both stopped, and Matzenbacher is a through condition.
Would it go directly from a two-way stop to a signalized intersection?
That's correct.
Okay.
Is this also the piece of Matzenbacher that's getting widened, or is that further north?
This section, well, so directly adjacent to this neighborhood, it is at the finished 4-lane condition. North of this area, so between French Creek and Hess Road, that will be widened in the future.
Right, okay.
Okay. On another topic, could you respond to the question regarding the HOA, either you or the developer?
Staff would defer that question to the developer.
Thank you.
Hi, I can answer that question and also provide a little bit more context on the previous question, if that's all right, because it's relevant. Right now, French Creek comes around through the whole neighborhood, and French Creek is widened throughout most of the neighborhood on the larger community map that we had. But here, because this filing one has not been developed yet, it narrows down. And so when this is developed, we'll widen French Creek just to match the rest of the neighborhood. This area is congested because of the schools and the churches and other uses in that area. But when filing one develops, we have to widen this to full collector standards which will happen up front with the subdivision. So it is going to provide some relief through there. And then we're also with our plat going to have to be dedicating right-of-way for what will be the start of a left-hand turn lane ultimately at Matzenbacher and Hess. So that'll provide some additional left turn movements from Matzenbacher onto Hess, and we're going to be dedicating that for the land we own along Matzenbacher to the city with the plat. So that'll provide some additional traffic through there. And of course, we can't just go and install a signal. We have to wait for those warrants to be met, the city to do that. In terms of the homeowners association, this entire area was always planned for the homeowners association for all the lots to be included. The lots are already included in the declarations as annexable lots. So these lots will be part of the homeowners association out there. It should be noted, and we didn't go into a lot of detail, but there are two parks with the new subdivision here. One is the larger one you see to the north, and then there's a smaller pocket park. That's the larger one, and then the smaller pocket park there. So those residents will be primarily using those parks. In addition to those costs of maintaining those parks, of course, you'll have more residents paying into the homeowners association with their monthly fees. So there should be no relative increase or decrease of homeowners association dues due to these lots being added, because they're also paying into it. It's not just them using what others have and not paying into it. So this was always contemplated, annexable, and I hope that answers your question.
Could you just, is the entire area that on this particular image is green, is that all the single HOA, or is the HOA everything to the left of Matzenbacher? Can you kind of indicate for me what that size of neighborhood is?
Yeah, the homeowners association was formed early in the process, so it includes all the non-colored area as well. Maybe I could, yeah, in the middle there, thank you, as well as the original lots further down next to 17B. Yeah, so those were all part of the original development. Those were just the first phases, and then again 2008 happened and everything just stopped.
Right.
So this is just the build out of the planned community from the get-go with far fewer lots than anticipated.
Do the homes, as you follow along from the bottom there, all along that French Creek, do all of those homes then belong to the same HOA? All the new construction that's down there?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
All right. Thanks, sir. Further questions? No? All right, then we will close the public hearing at 7:46. Commissioner discussion?
I'll start off and I'll say thank you for giving us the time and the description. You kind of went above and beyond answering all our questions, and I appreciate that. Personally, I think that this follows all our zoning criteria, as you pointed out, and thank you, Paul, for pointing that out as well. I don't have any concerns with approving this, so you have my vote and approval.
I want to thank the members of the public who came and spoke. What's important to remember is that this zoning that we're going to be talking, the first vote is on zoning. That zoning is actually going to reduce the number of people and cars and dogs and everything else. So, and I think that it's appropriate to change zoning and to add additional price points. I'm always excited when we have new price points coming in, hopefully. This will expand the amount of housing that will be more affordable for folks that are at the end or the beginning of their housing adventures. I also understand the concern about traffic and lights, and it's hard when you have had a period of time where there's been almost no traffic at all. And then as we begin to develop and grow as a town, you begin to add cars, and it gets concerning. But again, this would have had even more cars and more traffic had they not reduced the zoning and done what they've done to change it around. So you have my support. I thank the engineer for his patience with my questions. Sometimes I don't know everything, and so I ask dumb questions, but I appreciate your patience. So yeah, I will be voting in support of this.
I concur with my fellow commissioners. I think it is a good plan for an area that's been kind of dormant for a long while and provides some good housing price points. Do we have a motion on the first item?
Did Ileana get to talk?
What?
Ileana
Yeah.
didn't get to talk.
Oh, I didn't?
I'm fine.
I'm sorry.
I'm fine. I didn't have a comment.
Okay.
I agree.
Sorry.
After, I'm good.
All right.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Do we have a motion on the rezoning of the Sunmarke development?
I move the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the requested development guides rezoning.
I second.
It's been moved by Ruth Ann, seconded by Ileana, that Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the requested development guide zoning. Oh, swell. Yeah, I've got the same problem. Lost it. Why would we have gotten signed out? Okay, there it is.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, motion passes. Do we have a motion on the sketch and preliminary plan?
I move the Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the proposed sketch and preliminary plans, subject to the conditions listed in staff's report.
I second.
been
Wait,
moved-
stop.
Oh,
She's got to catch up.
that's right.
I did.
Ileana, second. Okay. Signify your approval.
Yes.
Aye.
The motion passes. All right, thank you. All right. Next item. Wait through these. piece of paper.
This is the draft ordinance.
Yeah. Item number 7 is a public meeting on a draft ordinance, a bill for an ordinance to amend sections 13.07.080, 13.07.090, 13.07.100, and 13.10.230 of the Parker Municipal Code concerning Mylar copies. We will open the public meeting at 7:51. Bryce, Paul?
Thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. As noted, before you tonight is a proposal to amend the Land Development Ordinance regarding the submittal of Mylar copies of plats. Mylars are documents printed on plastic sheets that are sent to the Douglas County Clerk and Recorder. The plastic sheets last longer than paper for long-term record keeping. The town has historically required a second original Mylar copy for our files that we keep in a file cabinet in our offices. With electronic files, we can easily access the county records and track it to review documents and no longer need the second Mylars. Along with the proposed changes are some minor changes to the code to reflect our electronic application submittal process, in particular removing requirements for paper submittals. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission recommend that Town Council approve an ordinance to amend the municipal code regarding Mylar copies. That concludes my presentation. As always, I'm available for any questions you may have.
Questions for Bryce?
I talked to several surveyors, and they were thrilled.
Okay. Anything
None
else?
from me, no.
Okay. Since this is a public meeting, we will open the meeting to public comment. Anyone who wishes to comment on this matter concerning Mylar copies can step forward to the podium. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment. Any further questions for staff?
None.
No.
I'm good.
Okay, then we will close the public meeting at 7:53. Commissioner discussion?
I think it's a no-brainer.
We love our Mylar.
I'm surprised the Mylar industry wasn't in here to protest the dropping of this.
To your point.
All right. No more, do we have a motion? The new motion is on a separate piece of paper?
Yep. I move Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the ordinance to amend sections 13.07.080, 13.07.090, 13.07.100, and 13.10.230 of the Parker Municipal Code concerning Mylar copies.
Second.
It's been moved by Ileana, seconded by Tracy, that Planning Commission recommend Town Council approve the ordinance to amend sections 13.07.080, 13.07.090, 13.07.100, 13.10.230 of the Parker Municipal Code concerning Mylar copies. Please enter your vote. Okay, Planning Commission item, just for the four of us that are here. At a future study session, there are some aspects of our kind of charter and charge and bylaws that I think could probably stand some discussion and review. And so at the next scheduled study session, we'll kind of get into to some of those that we've kind of either been overlooking or need to be looked at. So just put that on your highlight calendar.
Do we have a date yet?
I don't know.
Do we
A
have
date for a study session?
So we'll probably have a study session at the next planning commission prior to the meeting, April 25th.
Not going to be
Okay.
here.
Thank you.
Okay. Staff? Bryce?
Thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has requested over time kind of updates on some of the notable administrative approvals. I wanted to give you a quick update on those notable approvals that were in March. A discount tire was approved at Country Meadows. That's the northwest corner of Hess Road and Parker Road. A Dutch Brothers Coffee was approved along Parker Road just south of Mountain Man Drive, which is south of Hickory House. On 20 Mile Village, which is the property immediately east of the Culvers, there was a 2-story multi-tenant retail office building approved there. And then last notable administrative approval was Meadowlark subdivision filing number 1, final plat for 46 single-family homes. As you may recall, you reviewed and recommended approval for a sketch and preliminary of the larger Meadowlark a few months ago.
Thank you, Bryce.
Thank you.
All right, nothing further. We will adjourn at 7:57. Thank you.
Thank you.